novamente com mais uma aula visual. Quarta-feira temos o curso avançado. No curso avançado eu não vou estar traduzindo. Então, o aluno vai estar com vocês em inglês e eu não vou estar traduzindo para português, que é o curso avançado de quarta-feira.
Teacher Alan here. Today we're coming to you with a lesson for advanced students, and I hope you guys are ready. So let's get started. Today we're going to be talking about tenses. Today, the lesson will be a review of tenses used in the English language. We're going to start with over here. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's start by simple present tense, which is the most frequently used tense in the English language. So present simple. Now, when do we use simple present? We use simple present in English when we want to talk about facts, things that are always correct, that are always true, and when we want to talk about things that happen regularly. Things that happen on a regular basis, we use simple past. So, past. We use simple present to talk about facts, things that happen on a regular basis. Give you an example here. Example. I teach English online. This is something that happens again and again. It happens every day. Every day I wake up and I teach English. This is simple present. Tense I want to talk about is before I talk about simple past, I want to talk about present continuous. So the second tense, the second used tense in English is, so I'm going to go next. Present continuous. We use present continuous, an action that is in progress now, an action that is happening I am teaching English now. Teaching English now. or I am teaching tenses now. All right? So 2 tenses we talked about so far. Facts or on a regular basis, English, online. That's used to talk about an action that is in progress at the moment. Something that is happening now. I am teaching tenses now. I am teaching English. The third tense we want to talk about is, so we talked about present simple. Now let's talk about past simple. What we want to talk about is simple. Simple. Simple to talk about an action at a specific point of time in the past. Anymore. It's not happening anymore. And finished. So an action. We talk about an action that happened at a specific point of time. To talk about an action that happened at in the past and finished. I English in South Korea. That happened at a point of time in the past. I'm not teaching Korea anymore. It's an action that happened in the past and finished. So I have to use simple past. I taught English in Korea for 2 years. 2 years in South Korea. An action that happened in the past and finished. The fourth tense I want to talk about, past. You can guess. It's number 4, tense number 4, past. We use simple past continuous to talk about an action was in progress point of time in the past. Think about this morning, let's say 9 a.m. Today at 9 p.m. At that specific point of time. What were you doing at that time? You need to be talking about an action that was in progress. So you must have been in the middle of the action. So to talk talk about an action. We use past continuous to talk about an action at a specific point of time in the past. So I finished at 4 p.m. yesterday. About a specific point of time in the past, which is 4 p.m. yesterday. An action that was in progress. That action was teaching. At 4 p.m. yesterday, I was teaching a little before 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock. So at 4 o'clock, I was in the middle of the action. I was teaching English yesterday. 4 tenses we've talked about so far. Present, used to talk about an action that happens, or used to talk about facts. I teach English. Second tense, present continuous. Something used to talk about an action that is in progress at the moment. I'm teaching English now. I am teaching tenses now. Tense number 3, past simple. Used to talk about an action that happened in the past and finished. Finished for 2 years in South Korea. Fourth tense, past continuous. An action that was in progress at a specific point of time in the past. At 4 p.m. yesterday. Next, so we talked about now, we talked about past. How to talk about future. And we want to talk about is simple, past simple. So we also have future simple. Future simple. Simple. We use future simple to talk about an action happen in the future. To talk something will happen that is going to happen in future. For instance, tomorrow I will be teaching English. So I will teach English. English yesterday, English now, and tomorrow I will teach English. So will teach. I will teach. I know this is a little bit too much, confusing. I'm trying to keep things organized on the board so you can differentiate between the two different things. One more tense I want to talk about. Future. Now, you should be able to guess when we use future simple. So, present continuous, so about an action that is happening now. An action that was happening at a point of time in the past. an action that will be happening at a point of time in future. Example, will be teaching English tomorrow. Will be teaching at 4 p.m. tomorrow. To about an action that will be progress time in future. Okay, so we got the most important tenses on the board. If I think comparing these sentences to one another helps you realize the differences in terms of where we use to be, where we use ing form, where we use verb. I think these are all things that you can realize by doing a simple comparison between on the board, the examples. Here you see the simple form of the verb, verb to be. With the continuous tenses, we have the ing form. Past form, we have the simple past form of the verb. So one more time, recap. Used to talk about things that happen on a regular basis or facts. I teach English online. US used to talk about an action that is in progress now, something that is happening at the moment. I am teaching English now, or I am teaching tenses now. Past simple, that happened in the past and finished for 2 years in South Korea. Past continuous, an action that was in progress. You used to talk about an action that was in progress of time in the past. So yesterday at 4 p.m., I was teaching English. Teaching English at 4 p.m. yesterday. Future tenses, we have future simple. It's going to happen in the future. But tomorrow, if you want to talk about tonight, if you want to talk about next month, next year, simple. For instance, I will teach tomorrow. I will go to school tomorrow. And we have future continuous, which is action will be in progress at a point of time. So tomorrow at 4 p.m. teaching. So I'm going to start teaching at 3:50. I'm going to finish after 4 o'clock. 4 p.m. I will be in the middle of the action, the action of teaching. So I will be teaching at 4 p.m. tomorrow. All right. As I said, these are the most frequently used tenses in English. I got 3 more tenses I want to talk to you about. And to do that, I need a little bit of space on the board, so I'm going to erase the first tenses on the board of the top. Before I do that, let's read the comments and see. Please come up here and see what we have in the message box. Do you know how many people are watching?
They are saying that it's hard to read because of the image. Let's see. There are people that can see, there are people that cannot.
So what can we do for...
Alright, so... Bem, então eu vou... O que ele escreveu, atenção, e eu vou no final colocar alguns slides. So, after you are done, everything you wrote today, I'm going to just...
I'm not sure if they're going to have the ability to see subtitles while watching the video. That ability. If they watch the video using subtitles, they'll be able to see.
Yeah.
You want to take the camera and bring it a little bit closer to the board for a couple of seconds, and then
let's do that.
Yeah. The camera. We'll bring the camera a little bit closer to the. Read everything. There, close to this.
Be able to read.
When we're done with this. You can still again and read the sentences over there. So, good. Present simple, to talk about facts or things that happen on a regular basis. To teach, so the example is, I teach English online. And then present continuous, to talk about an action that is happening now. Example, I am teaching English now, or I am teaching tenses now. And tense number 3, past simple. We use it to talk about an action that happened at a point of time in the past and finished. Example is, I taught English for 2 years in South Korea. Tense number 4 was past continuous. We use this tense to talk about an action that was in progress at a specific point of time in the past. For instance, for example, I was teaching English at 4 p.m. yesterday. The 5th tense was future simple. We use this tense to talk about something that is going to happen at a point of time in future or in future. Example is, I will teach tomorrow. I will teach tomorrow. And the last tense, the 6th tense we talked about, was future continuous, which is used to talk about an action that will be in progress at a point of time in future. For example, I will be teaching at 4 p.m. tomorrow. So I hope that helps. Let us know if that was good. So we can see it there.
Deu para ler agora o que estava escrito na lousa?
Help?
I guess so. No answers yet.
So if that helped, because I need to erase some of the sentences. I still want to talk about 3 more tenses. Okay, shall we continue?
Yeah, I think that's okay. If they just I'm going to write down.
Yeah. All right, then first 3 tenses we talked about. I want to tell you guys something. The first tense we talked about, second tense and the third tense were the most frequently used tenses. Now, as we move downward tenses, the frequency decreases significantly. So the 3 tenses that way, the 3 last tenses we want to talk about are the tenses that are not used very often. Either in right formal tenses, and they're tenses that are used in specific situations. So the first one is simple present perfect. So we talked about aspect, we talked about the continuous aspect. Now we'll talk about, if you've noticed that we have simple present, present continuous, and present perfect. These are 3 different aspects of every tense. When do we use present perfect? We use present perfect to talk about an action in the past, but we don't know it happened. We use present perfect, an action that started in the past until present. I'll give you an example. Before I do that, I'm going to write the description here. About so use present perfect to either talk about an action that happened at known past, it happened in the past, but we don't know exactly when, or to talk about an action that started in the past to the present. Now, so I started teaching English 10 years ago. I started teaching, and I taught, and I taught, and I taught, and I taught. I'm still teaching. It's an action that started in the past and continued. I have to say, I have taught English for 10 years. Began 10 years ago, which is a time in the past. This is called present perfect. Now, the second perfect tense we want to talk about is past perfect tense. Let's see. When do we use past perfect? We use past perfect, an action that happened before another action in the past. Here's the important element number one. Here's the second important element. Both actions happened in the past. Element, one action happens before another action. So you're not talking about two actions that happen at the same time. Actions, one happening before the other action. Now, so about I'm talking to you about what happened to me yesterday in my class. So I was teaching tenses, and right after I finished teaching tenses, arrived. So what are the two actions? I was teaching. What is the other action? My student arrived. Now, how do I make that? Let me write the explanation first. So here's the definition. We use past perfect to talk about an action that happened before action in the past. So, talking about, I was teaching, and I was teaching tenses. I taught, after I finished, my student arrived. So I say, had taught the grammar he arrived. When he arrived, so we got two actions, teaching and arriving. It happened after he was finished, and now both actions, that's something for you to keep in mind. And here's the last. Whew. That's a lot, huh? Talking advanced English, right? So you need to keep that in mind. You guys have to remember we got lessons on 3 different days of the week. On Mondays, we have lessons for elementary students and pre-intermediate students. On Tuesdays, we have lessons for intermediate students. And on Wednesdays, we have lessons for advanced students. So it's that you need to make. You say you want to watch the program. All right, last tense I want to talk about is future perfect, used to talk about that will be completed before another action in the future. Will have grammar part So we've got two actions here. In this situation, both actions are going to happen in the future. You don't necessarily have to talk about two actions. It can just be a point of time in future. So I'm going to change this 6 p.m. We need to talk about two different actions. Future perfect to talk about an action that will be completed point of time in the future. The classes at 4 or 5 p.m. Solid time, mountain time. We are already finished. 6 p.m. tomorrow, I've taught the grammar point. By 6, so if this is 6 o'clock tomorrow, before 6 o'clock, we will finish here. So we will have lesson. We will have finished the lesson tomorrow. This ends out an action that be completed before a point of time in future. It will be completed before a point of time in future. So let's get rid of this. So we only have the last 3 tenses. And as I said, keep this in mind. These are three tenses. These are tenses that are not used in daily conversations often. These are tenses that are used mostly in written language, in writing. And they're used in formal situations. A lot more complicated than the usually talked about. Yes, please. A little bit closer to the board so you can see the sentences. And I'm going to read the sentences one more time. So let's start with the. So present perfect is a tense that we use to talk about an action that happened at an unknown point of time in the past. And we also use present perfect to talk about an action that started in the past and continued to present. For example, I have taught English for 10 years. We also have past perfect. We use this tense to talk about an action that happened before another action in the past. So we have two actions. For example, in this sentence, we have teaching and arriving. The arriving happened after the teaching. So two actions. One action happens before another action in the past. Both actions are in the past. I had taught the grammar point when he arrived. And the last tense we talked about was future perfect. Let's talk about an action that will be completed before a point of time in future. Let's say at 6 p.m. tomorrow, I will have taught the grammar part. I'm going to add accent here. Tomorrow. There we go. Review of all. There's still some of the tenses we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about perfect continuous tenses. Remember that, but I'm not going to go there because I know it'll get you guys confused. That's enough for today. Let's see if we have time for some exercises. Yes, we do have 5 minutes, and I'm going to erase the board and. So I'm going to write a sentence. Here's exercise number 1. I will write a sentence on the board. A couple of seconds to figure out what tense that sentence is. Here we go, sentence number 1. Sentence is I walk to work. Okay. Walk to work. Let me change that so it's true about me. What tense is this? To remind you one more time, it's really helpful to have a piece of paper and a pen handy when you watch our videos. It's necessary to take notes. Always, all the lessons is I give you exercises. The paper in front of you, you can do the exercises with me. So go ahead and see if you can guess what tense this is. Can you guys tell me? This is an advanced course, and I still don't see anybody writing in English. So I think that's something that you guys need to consider. I have been keeping an eye on the message box, and I still don't see anybody writing in English. All right. So I drive to work is simple present. This is simple present because it's something that happens every day. I drive to work every day. It's a fact. It's something that is true and happens on a regular basis. We don't have the word now, so it's not something that's happening now. We don't have the ing form. We don't have the past form, which is drove. It is simple. Let me give you another. I was taking a shower yesterday. I was taking a shower at 9 p.m. yesterday. What tense is this? Go ahead and write it. This one is the verb, the past to be, and it's continuous because we see ing form, we see the gerund. Past continuous. Here's the last exercise else that you can do. Is give you a verb, and I will give you a tense, and you're going to have to make a sentence with the words that I give you. Exercise. (4 p.m.) You to make a sentence in present perfect. To 4 p.m. and make a sentence perfect. Put a piece of paper in front of you. No. it in the message box. The sentence would be, have (4 p.m.). Since 4 p.m. So today we talked about different tenses in English. We talked about which of those tenses are more frequently used in our daily conversations, and which ones are used in written language. And we also went through 2 different exercises that you can use to improve your knowledge of the tenses. That's our lesson for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And
just remember, apenas lembrando vocês, segunda-feira nós temos o curso básico. Se não sabe inglês, venham que aí tem a tradução completa, tem ele ensina coisas básicas para você aprender. Terça-feira tem o curso intermediário, uma noção do básico, aprender mais coisas, sabe que não tem tradução. Você está feito disso. Toda segunda é o básico, toda terça é o intermediário, toda quarta é o avançado. Valeu!